She thought she had everything: perfect love, trust, and a future with the man she loved. But one message shattered everything. When Lily uncovered the truth about Alex's betrayal, her world turned upside down. Could she ever trust again? Or would the scars of the past haunt her forever? Watch as Lily fights through heartbreak to rebuild her life and discover what true self-love really means. Lily had always believed in love. To her, it was the foundation of everything. Her relationship with Alex had been everything she had ever dreamed of. They met during their sophomore year of college. It was one of those serendipitous moments when everything just clicked. They were inseparable from the moment they met, bonding over shared interests, mutual respect, and a deep emotional connection. For Lily, Alex was the perfect boyfriend, kind, thoughtful, and attentive. She was convinced that they were destined to be together forever. Their love was like a fairy tale. From late-night study sessions to spontaneous road trips, they created a world of their own. Lily loved the way Alex would surprise her with little gestures: a bouquet of flowers after a tough week, a handwritten note left in her bag, or just an unexpected text saying how much he loved her. She felt cherished, loved, and most importantly, secure. Their bond was built on trust, and she had never questioned Alex's loyalty or devotion. But like most people, Lily's life wasn't without its challenges. Between balancing school, work, and their relationship, there were moments when stress started to take its toll. However, every time things seemed overwhelming, Alex was always there to calm her down. He had a way of making everything feel manageable, as if nothing could break the foundation they had built together. The way Alex looked at her made Lily feel special. He made her feel like the most important person in the world. However, as time passed, Lily started to notice subtle changes in Alex's behavior. It wasn't anything glaring at first. He was still the sweet, loving boyfriend she had known, but there was something different. He was more distant, less communicative. Sometimes he would seem preoccupied, as if his mind was elsewhere. Lily tried not to dwell on it, attributing it to the pressures of school and life. After all, they had been through so much together. Surely, this was just a temporary phase. But as the weeks went on, these small changes became harder to ignore. Alex had become more withdrawn, less affectionate. Their late-night talks were replaced with silence, and the time they used to spend together was now filled with excuses. Lily felt a pang of worry, but tried to push it aside, thinking that it was all in her head. Maybe she was overthinking things, she thought. Still, her intuition told her something wasn't right. One evening, after a long day of studying, Lily returned to her apartment to find a message on her phone. It was from a mutual friend of hers and Alex's, someone she had known for years and had always trusted. The message was innocuous at first, asking if Lily was okay and how she had been feeling lately. But as she read the message further, she felt a lump form in her throat. The friend mentioned that they had seen Alex with another girl, a girl Lily didn't know. The message was casual, as if it was a simple observation, but the words hit Lily like a ton of bricks. She tried to ignore the sick feeling in her stomach and told herself that it was probably nothing. Maybe it was just a friend, maybe they were just talking. But the doubt began to gnaw at her, and the seeds of suspicion were planted. The next few days were a blur. Lily couldn't stop thinking about the message. She tried to distract herself with schoolwork and time with friends, but everything felt hollow. Every time she saw Alex, she wondered if he was hiding something from her. He had become increasingly elusive, and Lily couldn't help but feel like something was off. One day, after returning from class, Lily decided to follow her gut. She waited until Alex had left the apartment to run an errand. She didn't want to invade his privacy, but the nagging feeling that had been building up inside her was too overwhelming. With trembling hands, she went through Alex's bag, hoping to find some explanation for the changes in his behavior. At first, she didn't find anything. But then, buried deep at the bottom of his bag, she found something, a folded receipt. It was from a local coffee shop, dated a few days ago, and it was signed by a woman named Rachel. The name meant nothing to Lily. She didn't know anyone named Rachel, and certainly no one in their circle of friends had ever mentioned a Rachel. The receipt had a time on it that overlapped with the time she had last seen Alex. Her heart started to race. Was it possible that this woman was the one her friend had mentioned? The feeling of betrayal hit Lily hard. She had always trusted Alex completely, never once questioning his actions. Now, this small piece of evidence made her question everything. She was furious, hurt, and confused. How could Alex, the man who had always promised to love her, be hiding something from her? She decided to confront him, but she wasn't sure if she was ready for what she might discover. The next few days were filled with anxiety and turmoil. Lily barely slept, and every time she saw Alex, her heart would race. She tried to prepare herself for the worst, but she couldn't imagine how she would feel if the truth came out. The love she had for him was undeniable, but so was the feeling that something wasn't right. The perfect relationship she had believed in was starting to unravel before her eyes. The days after Lily discovered the receipt were agonizing. She tried to keep things normal between her and Alex, but the tension was suffocating. Every time they spoke, every glance exchanged, it felt like a veil had been pulled back, and the weight of her suspicions loomed large. Her mind raced, spinning in circles, imagining all the possibilities, but deep down, she feared the worst. She knew she couldn't keep ignoring the nagging feeling inside her. She needed to confront Alex, but how? What if she was wrong? What if the truth was far worse than she could imagine? One afternoon, she couldn't take it anymore. Alex had been acting distant again, and the guilt in his eyes was unmistakable. He had that faraway look he often wore now, as though he wasn't fully present. Lily knew that she had to ask him about Rachel, the woman on the receipt. She took a deep breath and tried to calm her racing heart. She needed to be composed. She needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. She found Alex sitting in their living room, flipping through a magazine. He glanced up when he heard her footsteps and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That was another change she had noticed recently. His smiles no longer seemed genuine. There was always something off about them, like they were forced, like he was hiding something. Lily sat down next to him, her hands trembling. She had rehearsed this conversation in her head 100 times, but now that the moment was here, she didn't know how to begin. The silence stretched between them for what felt like an eternity, each second heavier than the last. "Alex, we need to talk," Lily said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Her heart was pounding, but she forced herself to remain calm. This was it, the moment she had been dreading. Alex looked at her, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What's going on? You're acting weird. What's wrong?" Lily swallowed hard, gathering the courage to ask the question that had been eating away at her. "Who is Rachel?" The mention of the name made Alex's face change instantly. His eyes widened for a split second, and his lips parted as if he were about to speak. But then he hesitated, and a flicker of panic passed over his face. Lily saw it. She saw the guilt in his eyes, and she knew in that moment that her suspicions were right. Something was wrong. Something had been going on behind her back. "She's just a friend," Alex said, his voice faltering. The words came out quickly, too quickly. It was a defense mechanism, a reflex. Lily wasn't buying it. "Don't lie to me, Alex," she said, her voice hardening. "I found a receipt from the coffee shop. It was dated last week, and you were there with her." For a moment, Alex just stared at her, his face pale. The truth was slowly sinking in, and Lily could see the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He opened his mouth to say something, but the words didn't come. Lily's heart sank even further. She had never seen him like this before, caught off guard, vulnerable, unable to hide the truth any longer. I don't know what to say, Alex muttered, his voice barely audible. It's not what you think. Lily's frustration boiled over. She had trusted him with everything. Her love, her heart, her life, and he had shattered it in an instant. Then tell me what it is. Tell me what's going on, because I deserve to know the truth. Alex ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting away from hers. He couldn't look at her. Lily could feel the walls coming up between them, the distance widening by the second. Lily, I never wanted to hurt you, Alex said, his voice shaking. But I've been seeing someone else. It started a few months ago, and I didn't know how to tell you. The words hit Lily like a slap to the face. She couldn't process them at first. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what Alex was saying. So you've been seeing her all this time? She asked, barely able to keep the tears from streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far, Alex replied, his voice breaking. I didn't know how to stop. I never wanted to hurt you, but I've been confused. I didn't know what I wanted. The betrayal was overwhelming. Every word he said seemed to tear apart the trust they had built together. How could he have done this? How could he have lied to her for so long, pretending everything was fine while sneaking around with someone else? Lily felt her heart break into a million pieces, but she couldn't bring herself to show him how much it hurt. She had been betrayed, and nothing he said could undo the damage. I don't understand, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. How could you do this to me? I loved you. I trusted you. Alex's eyes filled with guilt and regret. I know, and I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But I made a mistake. A huge one. I don't even know how it happened. It just did. Lily shook her head, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. You don't get it, Alex. You don't get what you've done. You've destroyed everything. Everything we had. And for what? For her? I never meant to hurt you, Alex repeated, his voice pleading. I was confused. But No, Lily interrupted, her voice firm. You don't get to make excuses. You don't get to blame confusion. You made a choice. You chose her over me. You chose to betray me. And I can't forgive that. Lily stood up, her legs unsteady beneath her. She couldn't stand to be near him any longer, not after what he had confessed. She needed space, time to think, to process everything. The man she had loved for so long was no longer the person she thought he was. And that realization cut deeper than anything she could have imagined. I think we need some time apart, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. She could barely look at him anymore. I can't do this right now. She turned and walked out of the room, leaving Alex behind. The man she had trusted. The man she had loved. The man who had shattered her heart. She didn't know what to feel anymore. Anger, sadness, betrayal, confusion. All of it was swirling inside her, and she couldn't find a way to make sense of it. Her world had been turned upside down, and the person she thought she knew so well had been hiding secrets, lies, and a love that wasn't meant for her. After the confrontation, Lily's world felt as though it was falling apart. She spent the next few days in a haze, unable to focus on anything. The sting of betrayal was still fresh, and the weight of it hung heavy on her chest. She had never imagined that Alex, the person she had trusted the most, would be capable of breaking her heart like this. The memories of their good times together now felt distant and foreign, as if they belonged to another lifetime. She stayed in her apartment, avoiding Alex's calls and texts. He tried reaching out to apologize, but Lily couldn't bring herself to respond. Every time she thought of him, the pain became unbearable. She wasn't sure what hurt more, the betrayal itself or the fact that Alex hadn't been honest with her from the start. He had hidden his feelings, his actions, and the truth. And now, it seemed as though their entire relationship had been a lie. She couldn't trust him anymore, and the thought of trying to rebuild what they once had felt impossible. Lily tried to keep busy. She buried herself in her studies, took long walks to clear her head, and spent time with her friends. But no matter what she did, Alex was always on her mind. The memories of their laughter, their late-night talks, and their plans for the future were haunting her. It felt as if everything they had worked for, everything they had dreamed of, had been reduced to nothing. One evening, as Lily sat in the park, watching the sunset, she received a message from her friend, Mia. Mia had been Lily's rock throughout the entire ordeal, and she had been by her side ever since she found out about Alex. The message simply read, "You need to let go, Lily. You deserve so much more than this." Lily stared at the message for a long time, reading it over and over again. "You deserve so much more than this." The words resonated deeply within her. She knew Mia was right. She had spent so much of her life giving herself to someone who hadn't valued her in return. She had given her heart to Alex, only to have it shattered. But she was more than just the woman Alex had betrayed. She was strong. She was capable. She was worthy of love, of respect, and of happiness. That night, for the first time since the breakup, Lily allowed herself to cry. She let the tears flow freely, not just for the love she had lost, but for the person she had become through it all. She cried for the girl who had loved too deeply, who had trusted too easily, and who had been willing to forgive anything in the name of love. But now, as she sat alone in her apartment, she realized she needed to let go of the past. She couldn't continue to hold on to something that no longer existed. The next day, she finally made the decision to meet with Alex. It had been a week since their confrontation, and although she wasn't sure if she was ready to face him, she knew that she needed closure. She needed to hear from him what had really happened, why he had done what he had done. She needed to understand, even if the answer wouldn't make things better. Lily called him and asked if they could meet at the cafe where they had shared so many memories. When she arrived, Alex was already there, sitting at a table near the window. His face was tired, his eyes red from lack of sleep. He stood up when he saw her, but neither of them knew how to begin. The silence between them was deafening, and Lily could feel the weight of the past week pressing on both of them. "Lily, I don't know where to start," Alex said, his voice heavy with regret. "I'm so sorry for what I did. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe me." Lily sat down across from him, her hands clasped together. She wasn't sure if she believed him anymore, but she needed to hear him out. She had to know why he had betrayed her. "I don't understand, Alex," she said softly, her voice tinged with sadness. "How could you do this? How could you keep something like this from me?" Alex took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "I was scared, Lily. Scared of losing you. Scared of what might happen if I told you the truth. But I was selfish. I kept making excuses, telling myself that I could fix things without anyone getting hurt. But in the end, I hurt you the most." Lily's chest tightened as she listened to him. Part of her wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that this wasn't just another excuse. But the other part of her, the part that had been betrayed, couldn't forget what had happened. She couldn't forget the lies, the secrets, the months of being kept in the dark. "I gave you everything, Alex," she said, her voice cracking. "And you took it all for granted. You took my trust, my love, and you shattered it. How am I supposed to forgive that?" Alex's face crumpled, and he looked down at the table. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Lily. I don't deserve it. I don't know if I can forgive myself for what I've done." Lily paused, trying to collect her thoughts. She had spent so much time in turmoil over the betrayal. But now, as she sat across from the man she had once loved, she realized that forgiving him wasn't about him. It was about her. She couldn't carry the weight of his mistakes any longer. She couldn't let his actions define her. "You're right," she said, her voice steady. "I can't forgive you. Not now. Maybe not ever. But I have to move on, Alex. I have to find my own happiness again. I can't keep living in the past." Alex nodded, tears welling in his eyes. He didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. Lily stood up, her heart heavy but resolute. She knew this was the last time she would see him. She had to let go, for her own sake. She walked out of the cafe, feeling a strange sense of relief mixed with sorrow. She had come to terms with the fact that their love was over, and that was the first step toward healing. As she stepped into the world outside, the sunlight felt brighter, warmer. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt free. The days after meeting Alex were a mixture of relief and grief. Lily had finally closed that chapter of her life, but it wasn't without its own set of challenges. Letting go was never easy, and even though she had made the decision to move on, there were still moments when she felt like she was drowning in the memories. Each corner of her apartment reminded her of the life she had shared with Alex, the meals they cooked together, the late-night talks, the quiet mornings wrapped in each other's arms. She had loved him with every fiber of her being, and now she had to face the painful reality that he was no longer part of her life. Lily spent much of the following weeks alone, trying to piece her life back together. She didn't want to rush the process. She knew it would take time, and she gave herself the space to feel everything: anger, sadness, lone line. She cried when she needed to, allowed herself to be angry when it felt right, and slowly, the fog of betrayal began to lift. She also began to recognize the importance of self-care. It wasn't just about moving on from Alex. It was about healing the wounds that had been caused not just by him, but by her own tendencies to sacrifice too much of herself in the name of love. She had given so much of her energy to their relationship that she had neglected parts of herself. Now, it was time to reclaim those parts. Time to rediscover who she was beyond being Alex's girlfriend. One afternoon, Lily decided to take a trip to the beach. It had been a while since she had done something for herself, and the idea of sitting by the ocean, listening to the waves crash against the shore, felt like the perfect way to clear her mind. As she sat on the sand, the salty air filling her lungs, she let the sun warm her face. The vastness of the ocean made her feel small, insignificant in the best way possible. For the first time in weeks, she felt at peace. She thought about everything she had gone through, how she had allowed Alex to take up so much space in her heart. But now, she was starting to understand that her worth didn't depend on anyone else. She was strong, independent, and capable of finding happiness on her own. She didn't need Alex to validate her. She was enough as she was. The next few weeks were filled with small, but significant steps toward healing. Lily started spending more time with her friends, people who had been there for her even when she had been too blinded by love to notice their support. Mia, in particular, was a constant source of comfort. She had been Lily's shoulder to cry on when everything fell apart, and now, she was there to help her rediscover herself. Mia invited Lily to go out for drinks one evening, and as they sat at a cozy bar, laughing and reminiscing about old memories, Lily realized just how much she had missed living for herself. Her friends were a reminder that she didn't have to carry the burden of betrayal alone. They reminded her of the woman she had been before Alex came into her life. And as she slowly reconnected with the things that brought her joy, reading, cooking, exploring new places, she began to rediscover the woman she had once been. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments when the pain of the past threatened to overwhelm her, but with each passing day, the healing process felt a little more manageable. Lily also focused on her career. She had always been passionate about her studies, and now that her heart wasn't divided by the complexities of a broken relationship, she could pour her energy into building her future. She had dreams, goals, and aspirations that were hers alone, and for the first time in a long time, she felt excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. But even with all the progress she was making, there were still days when she missed Alex. There were still nights when she found herself reaching for her phone, wanting to send him a text or call him just to hear his voice. The old habits, the old ways of thinking, were hard to shake. But Lily was learning to recognize those feelings for what they were, remnants of the past that no longer served her. She couldn't continue to live in the shadow of a love that was no longer hers. One evening, as she walked through the city, she passed by a cafe that she and Alex used to frequent. The familiar warmth of the place made her stop for a moment. She stood there, looking through the window, remembering the countless afternoons they had spent there, talking about everything and nothing at all. The memories rushed back, and for a moment she felt a pang of longing. But then she smiled softly to herself. That part of her life was over, and it was time to embrace what was to come. She turned away from the cafe and continued walking, her steps lighter than they had been in a long time. The path ahead was uncertain, but she no longer feared it. For the first time in months, Lily felt a sense of hope, a glimmer of possibility. She had weathered the storm, and now she was learning how to rebuild her life, brick by brick, with the strength she had found within herself. The pain of betrayal would never fully disappear. It would always be a part of her story, a scar that reminded her of what she had endured. But Lily was no longer defined by the betrayal. She was defined by her resilience, her ability to rise above the hurt and embrace the woman she was becoming. Lily had learned a valuable lesson, the importance of self-love, self-worth, and never settling for less than she deserved. And as the days went on, she knew that she would continue to grow, to heal, and to create a life that was hers and hers alone. She was stronger than she had ever realized, and her journey had only just begun. The months that followed Lily's decision to leave the past behind were transformative. She had done the hard work of grieving, processing, and healing, but now she was stepping into a new chapter of her life, one where she would write her own story, independent of anyone else's actions or decisions. Every day felt like a new beginning, filled with challenges, sure, but also with boundless opportunities. She was determined to make the most of it. Lily had begun to fill her days with activities that brought her joy, with no one else to consider but herself. She had always loved painting, something she had neglected over the years, but now, with the space to create, she rediscovered her passion. Her small apartment was soon filled with vibrant canvases, abstract landscapes, portraits, and still lives, each one representing a piece of the healing process, a journey from pain to peace. Her friends continued to be her support system, offering encouragement and a safe space to express herself. Mia was still her closest confidant, always offering a listening ear and gentle advice when Lily needed it most. Together, they went on spontaneous trips, tried new restaurants, and even took a pottery class just for fun. Every laugh shared and every moment spent with her friends reaffirmed what Lily had learned in the past months. Happiness wasn't found in a relationship. It was found within, in the way she chose to live her life, in the moments she chose to cherish. While Lily was becoming her best self again, there was something she had not anticipated, the presence of new feelings. She had assumed that once she moved on from Alex, the thought of dating or loving again would be something that came much later, if at all. But as time passed, she began to notice the subtle shifts in herself. She had grown. She had healed. And now, there was space within her heart for something new, something fresh. It was during a work event that Lily first met Ryan. He was a colleague who had recently transferred to her department. At first, she didn't think much of him. He was polite, professional, and easy to talk to, but she didn't see him as anything more than just another coworker. However, as the weeks went by, she found herself looking forward to their conversations, their shared laughter, and even their occasional lunch breaks together. There was something about Ryan that was different from the people she had known before, a quiet sincerity and easy kindness that made her feel comfortable. One afternoon, after a long meeting, Ryan suggested they grab coffee. It wasn't anything unusual, just a simple gesture between colleagues. But something about the way he smiled at her, the way he listened intently when she spoke, made Lily's heart flutter in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She couldn't help but wonder if maybe there was more to this connection than just friendship. Still, she was hesitant. She didn't want to rush into anything. She had learned the hard way not to settle or to let her heart get swept up in something that wasn't right. She needed time. Over the next few weeks, their coffee breaks turned into walks in the park, then into dinners at cozy little restaurants. They talked about everything and nothing, life, dreams, the world around them. Ryan was easy to be around, and Lily found herself laughing again, truly laughing, without the weight of the past on her shoulders. He was gentle, considerate, and patient. Unlike Alex, he wasn't trying to win her over with grand gestures. He simply showed up, listened, and made her feel seen and heard. It was a refreshing change, and with each passing day, Lily allowed herself to consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she was ready to love again. But it wasn't easy. Lily had to confront the lingering fears inside her, the fear of being hurt again, the fear of trusting someone with her heart, the fear of opening herself up to love only to have it turn out like her last relationship. She had to remind herself that she wasn't the same person she had been with Alex. She had grown, learned, and healed. She knew now that love, when it came, had to be with someone who respected her, valued her, and gave her the space to be herself. One evening, after a particularly beautiful dinner at a restaurant overlooking the city, Ryan took her hand in his. There was a softness in his touch, a quiet confidence in his presence that put Lily at ease. She looked into his eyes and, for the first time in a long while, allowed herself to feel vulnerable. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that she was no longer afraid. She was ready for whatever came next. "Lily," Ryan said softly, his voice warm and sincere, "I know we've been spending a lot of time together, and I just wanted to say, I really enjoy being with you. You make me laugh, and you make me feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't want to rush anything, but I just wanted you to know that I'm here for you whenever you're ready." Lily smiled, her heart swelling with a mix of emotions. She had come so far since the days when she felt lost and broken. She had learned to trust herself, to love herself, and now she was opening her heart again, not out of desperation, but out of the belief that she deserved love. She was ready to let Ryan in, to explore this new chapter of her life with him by her side. "I'm ready," Lily said, her voice steady. "I think I've been ready for a while. But I needed to be sure, not just for you, but for myself." Ryan's smile widened, and for a moment, Lily felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. The journey she had taken, one of heartache, betrayal, and loss, had led her to this moment of clarity. She had faced her fears, confronted her pain, and come out stronger on the other side. And now, she was ready to embrace the love that was waiting for her. As they walked hand in hand through the city, Lily knew that she wasn't going to let the past define her. She had learned the hard way that not every love story was meant to last, but that didn't mean she had to close herself off from love forever. She was ready to write a new story, a story that was uniquely hers, full of hope, joy, and the kind of love that she deserved. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Lily was looking forward to the future. She was no longer the girl who had been betrayed. She was a woman who had learned to stand tall, to embrace her worth, and to trust that the best was yet to come.